Welcome back to part two, a continuation from part one. I think we covered the other questions. I think we'll go straight into the next question, which is question 7. Yes, so what we're going to do is look at question 7, and the question really says, CSV categorizes IT initiatives into 5 distinct types. Identify all 5 types and then choose one type other than strategic, local, or urgent. Okay? And explain its unique origins, motivations, and primary architectural concerns for an EA enterprise. So we have 5 types. We've been given 3, which is strategic, fundamental. So we have strategic, fundamental, local, mandatory, and urgent. Okay, so strategic, local, fundamental, mandatory, and urgent. Those are the 5 types. So let's focus on the mandatory initiative, as they are often overlooked. Okay. The 5 we've already highlighted. Let me just put all of them here, and then maybe we can discuss the origin. So they are driven by external factors like government regulation, like GDPR or vendor ending support for key piece of software. Their motivation is always compliance or risk avoidance. So the mandatory ones, we're saying that they are driven by external factors, such as maybe a new government regulation or a vendor ending support for a key piece of software. Their motivation is always compliance. So that's one of the type of IT initiative, which is a mandatory one. This one is mandatory. It requires you to make changes to your landscape, because maybe the vendor has stopped providing the service, or there's government regulation requiring you to make certain changes. So it's mandatory that the organization or the business also implements a change IT initiative. And mainly, these are meant to to avoid risk, or sometimes they are meant just for compliance. And then the number 2, these are primary architectural concerns. The architect must ensure the solution is implemented quickly to meet the deadline, but they have to fight to ensure it's not a quick, messy patch. So the goal is a sound architectural fix that prevents introducing new technical debt. Okay, so that's what we can focus on. So the question was basically asking us to identify 5 types of IT initiatives. So we were given 3 of them: strategic, local, and urgent. Then the other 3 that we wanted to just add to this were the mandatory one, the mandatory initiative, and fundamental initiative. Those are the ones that you should remember. Yeah, so really this is what we've discussed. 5 types, they are all here: strategic, fundamental, local, mandatory, and urgent. And then we were asked to explain the origins, to choose one type and explain its origins. So we chose the mandatory one, which is, I think, easier to remember, because the mandatory ones, we're saying these are driven by external factors, e.g. data privacy laws. As you know, in Zambia, we enacted a law, data privacy laws, that requires not to ensure that all data that has personal identifying information is stored in country and not externally. So what that means is that all organizations are mandated. It was mandatory that they make IT initiative changes. And also sometimes it could be end of vendor support. Their motivation is always compliance and risk avoidance. And then the other issue the primary architectural concern that we looked at is that the architect's main concern is ensuring the initiative meets requirement quickly while ensuring the fix is architecturally sound. Okay, so that's a primary concern from the architect's point of view, is that we need to quickly make these changes, but also balancing and making sure that the whole activity is not a mess and that there is no introduction of bugs or issues to do with technical debt. All right, so we can move to the next question. And the next question really is around asking us to illustrate how IT initiative interact with each other, with each of the three core EA process. Okay, how do IT initiative interact with strategic planning, initiative delivery, and technology optimization? Explaining the two-way relationship in each case. So, the two-way relationship between initiatives and the core processes is the final piece of the puzzle, right? So, first and foremost, the EA process for strategic planning defines the large-scale strategic initiatives, the roadmap, okay? It provides feedback from completed initiatives, helps update the roadmap. And then initiatives are the main customers for EA, initiative delivery. The initiatives are the main customers for EA's governance and architectural guidance. These are outlines and designs. And then the initiatives provide the opportunity for EA to enforce architectural rules. And lastly, technology optimization. We're saying that this process helps manage the portfolio of initiatives and retires old technology. Initiatives are the source of new systems that need to be added to the landscape that is being managed. So that's the two-way, that's the two-way relationship that we're discussing. So in summary, it will look something like this. This is how your answer will be presented. We're saying that for EA planning, it defines the large-scale strategic initiatives, and it gets feedback from completed initiatives, helps update the strategic roadmap. So that's a one way. So one way is where it defines the large-scale strategic initiatives, and then once they're defined, it provides the feedback of completed initiatives to help update the strategic roadmap. And then initiative delivery, we're saying it gives, initiatives are the main customers for EA. It's governance and architectural guidance. These are outlines and design, and then the initiative provides opportunity for EA to enforce architectural rules. For technology optimization, this process helps manage the portfolio of initiatives and retires technologies made redundant by new initiatives. Initiatives are the source of new systems that need to be added to the landscape. Okay, so one thing you need to remember is that when you are talking about initiative delivery, we're talking about outlines and designs. And then someone is sick. I told you not to. I'm busy. And then apologies, the kids just came in. And then the other thing is technology optimization. It's just looking at the landscapes. And then the other question that we want to look at is within the CSVLOD model, artifacts are classified by their focus as either business or IT focus. Can you explain the difference between these two categories and provide one example of a CSV load artifact type for each category. Okay. Yeah, so we need to provide for each category. Okay. So the CSVLOD model classifies artifacts by their focus, which audience they serve. The business focus, we're saying these describe or prescribe the non-technical aspects of the enterprise. And these are, from the non-technical side, the processes, the capabilities, the business, the data. And I think in the other video we did discuss that. And they are mainly used for the dialogue within business leaders and IT initiatives. The examples would be visions, e.g. target state, value chains, So for business, we're talking about the visions in terms of the target state, where they want to be. And then for IT forecast, these describe, or rather they prescribe technical details of applications, systems, and infrastructure. They are mainly used for governing and guiding the IT organization, such as the standards, technology reference models, okay? So when you're talking about IT forecast, we need to look at the standards, and they will provide the technology reference model. So those are the two categories and the differences between them, and we've provided an example in each case. Okay. So just remember that the distinction is vital for making sure that the right conversation is happening with the right stakeholder. I think that's the main takeaway from this. Identify 6 core types of EA artifacts in the CSVLOD model. Okay, this should be a very easy one. And then discuss how their classification by purpose, rules, structures, changes, and focus. The business or IT helps strategically place and differentiate them within the EA practice. So the 6 core artifacts types for considerations. S is for standards, V is for visions, L is for landscape, O is for outlines, and D is for designs. There are classifications by purpose, rules, structures, changes, and focus in terms of business or IT is what gives them their strategic power. Okay. So, for the rules, we'll look at the rules, the standards, the structures, the visions, the changes, the outlines. Okay. And I think this is what we will focus on. This is like strategic placement. So the 6 core artifacts, these are the ones we've already discussed them. And then this question will require you just to state that we have the rules on top, we have the structures, and the changes. Okay, so for the rules, we are saying these rules define governance. So considerations are high-level business rules, while standards are detailed IT rules. That's the difference. And then the structures, you describe the enterprise. Okay, the structures will define the enterprise, and then the visions are the future structures, while landscapes are the current structures. The changes, these document project delivery, such as outlines. Outlines are project proposals. Strategic change, while designs are technical instructions. Detailed change. So this helps the EA practice to ensure they have the right type of artifact for the right audience. And then we can move to the next question, 8.3. We look at the narrow subtypes. So the CSVLOD model allows for narrow subtypes within the 6 general artifact types. Okay, so the CSV model allows for narrow subtypes. So provide an example of a narrow subtype for considerations and another for outlines. Explain the distinct role of each subtype within an EA practice. So the subtype for considerations, these are principles. So the role, principles, just like information, is shared freely. Set the fundamental long-term architectural philosophy. They guide all strategic decisions and ensure enterprise-wide consistency. Okay, so these principles are very important because they are used to guide all strategic decisions. All decisions that are made at strategic level are anchored by the principles. Okay, so that's why they're quite important. And then for outlines, these are solution overviews. We had mentioned earlier on that these could be proposals, change proposals, or project proposals. In that their role, this provides a high-level technical plan from an IT perspective for a specific project. Okay, it is used to get early architectural approval and align the project team on general design before the expensive detailed development begins. Okay, question 9. Let's look at the considerations. I think this question will be based on just considerations. As we go down, I think the rest of the questions, they will be looking at specifically a question on each artifact. So I think it's very important that we understand these artifacts in detail. So we are being asked to describe the typical life cycle of consideration within an EA practice, and also explain the core purpose and benefits of effectively using them. So what they're saying is that how does the life cycle of considerations look like from within an EA practice, and explain the core purpose and benefits of using considerations. So a typical life cycle, the considerations are the foundational rules of the enterprise. So they are created during strategic planning and are designed to be extremely stable and long-lived, often lasting 5+ years. They are only updated when the entire business strategy changes. Okay, so these are long-term and long-lived strategic plans. Okay, I mean the strategic rule, foundational strategic rules. So these are long-term. Let's remember that. And then their purpose and their benefits is that their purpose is to establish fundamental, high-level guiding rules and policies. The benefit is that they ensure all architectural decisions are aligned with the overall business vision and reflect the organization's core values. So that's their main purpose. So what we are saying here is that the considerations, we are saying these usually foundational rules, high-level rules that might take a period of 5 or more years. They are long-lived, they are in the long term, and they're usually stable. They don't usually change. They are only updated when the strategic objective or strategic goals of the business changes. So the architectural designs would then be aligned. Okay. Okay, we can look at the next one, which is to differentiate between conceptual data models and direction statements as two distinct types of considerations. Explain their specific features and how they are used. So conceptual data models and direction statements. Two common types of considerations. So conceptual data models, these are business-focused views of key entities like a customer, product, and their relationships. They are technology agnostic. They are used to create a shared business understanding of core information, guiding all subsequent system design. So that's like a conceptual model, okay? And then direction statements, these are high-level textual mandates, e.g. prioritize software as a service over custom build. They are used to steer strategic thinking and set a broad architectural path for long-term guidance. So this is just a summary. We have the conceptual data models where we have they are business focused, okay, and they will give guidance on they'll give a view of key data entities like a customer, the product, and relationship. They are really focusing on the technology aspect. And the other one, these are just the high-level textual mandates or principles. Prioritize software as a service over custom build. And then the use for this, we are saying they are used to create shared business understanding. Okay, conceptual data models are used to create shared business understanding of core information, guiding all subsequent application and system design, while the direction statements are used to steer strategic thinking and set a broad architectural path for long-term guidance and governance. Okay, we can look at the other one, question 9.3. Considerations act as the guiding logic for enterprise evolution. So using the example of principles as a common consideration, explain how this guiding logic helps shape architectural outcomes and ensure consistent high quality architectural results. Okay, so we're being asked to consider look at the considerations as a guiding logic for how the organization or enterprise will evolve over time. And then we need to explain how this helps shape architectural outcomes and ensure consistent high quality architectural results. So a principle, let's start with, let's use a principle like maximize component reuse, okay? Yeah, that's the principle, like we need to maximize component reuse. So this principle acts as guiding logic by forcing architects when designing a new system to first look for existing components to reuse rather than building a new one from scratch. Their consistency shapes architectural outcomes by reducing redundancy, lowering costs, and ensuring all parts of the enterprise adhere to high quality, efficient standard. Okay, and then let's look at the last question, and then maybe we'll give a summary of this unit 6 to unit 10. So standards, we're saying we need to describe the life cycle of standards within each EA practice. What are the key what are the key purpose and benefits of maintaining a set of effective standards? So standards are technical rules. We should always remember that. Standards are technical rules of the enterprise. They are shorter lived than considerations. Because technology changes rapidly, they require continuous maintenance and a formal process for retiring technologies, often called a sunset, or yeah. When we say we're sunsetting the system, it means that we are retiring it. And the key purpose or benefits, the purpose is to define the approved specific technologies, products, and detailed rules for IT. The benefits include cost reduction, reduced risk by using supported products, and increased consistency. So the benefits, we've said the benefits of this is to reduce the risk, and then increase the consistency across IT landscape. Those are just the benefits. So we want to discuss, maybe we need to discuss in summary what we have covered so far. Okay. Yeah. So no, there's still one more question. So let's look at this last part. I think differentiate between technology reference models and patterns as two types of standards. Explain the features of each and how they are used within an EA practice. Technology reference models, all mandatory or list of approved or mandatory products, e.g. use of Red Hat for all new operating systems. Used for governance during initiative delivery to ensure project teams only select pre-approved support technologies. And then the patterns, these are reusable solutions. So technology reference models are just a list of approved products, e.g. standard way of to implement a microservice communication, a specific cloud deployment template. These are used to accelerate development and ensure architectural consistency by giving project teams tested blueprints for common solution elements. The key challenge for enterprise architects is the main set of standards that provide consistency and reduce risk without stifling the innovation needed for business to thrive. Discuss how an EA practice can proactively manage this common pitfall. Okay. So, the biggest challenge of an enterprise architect is maintaining consistency. Okay. With standards, without stifling. So that's like the biggest challenge. So if we're going to discuss how an EA practice can proactively manage this pitfall of maintaining consistency with standards without stifling innovation, would be where an example is where we want to implement a traffic light system. Okay, so classifying standards as mandatory, recommended amber, which will be in and then acceptable is green. Providing guidance without being strictly limiting, and then establishing a clear exception process, allowing project teams to propose and use new non-standard technologies if they can prove a strong business case, a clear path to production, and a plan to manage the risk. This allows for controlled innovation. Yes, okay, that's a wrap. That was really a deep dive. We've covered processes that drive EA, the initiatives that make it concrete, and the foundational artifacts that govern it all. So if you can master Unit 6 to Unit 10, then you'll be able to get to a point where you understand how to successfully transform an organization. So let me know in the comment section if you want me to break down any of the EA topics. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. I will see you in the next video. Yes. Okay, there is a comment, there's a request that I give a summary of what we've discussed. All right. So we started by defining EA as a master blueprint for an organization and ensuring the business strategy, processes, information, and technology work together seamlessly. Its goal is to provide a holistic view for managing the transition from the current state to the future state. The four traditional domains of EA are business, data, application, and technology. We did discuss that. We then explored the CSVLOD model, which is a powerful way to classify all EA documents based on two dimensions: the focus, the how, the business focused for leaders versus the IT focus for engineers. Then the purpose, what, the rules, the structures, and the changes. This forms the six core artifacts types. You know, we already looked at the considerations as guiding principles, the standards as technical policies, and then the visions as state blueprints, future state blueprints, and then landscape, the current IT inventory, outlines are project proposals, and then designs are technical blueprints. All right, and then we looked at the core processes of EA. A modern EA practice is built on three continuous core processes that form a feedback cycle. Number one, strategic planning, which is strategy to portfolio, translating business strategy into an approved list of IT investments or initiatives. The key output was updated visions and outlines. Then we had initiative delivery, the need to solution, purely executing the approved IT initiatives, converting proposals into working systems. The key activity is about enforcing standards via architectural governance. And then lastly, the third one was technology management or optimization. So it's IT to IT. Basically maintaining the existing IT environment, updating the landscapes, and performing technology rationalization. The interaction ensures that execution problems, feedback, and force updates to future strategy. And then number 4, we looked at initiatives and compliance. We discussed that IT initiatives are the central focus of EA because they are tangible points of discussion tied to budgets and execution. We also identified the 5 types of initiatives as strategic, fundamental, local, mandatory, and urgent. And then mandatory initiatives driven by risk are critical as the architect must ensure the required fix is done in an architecturally sound way, avoiding technical debt. And then we had a discussion around the detailed artifacts and the two rules. Yeah, so we looked at considerations where we were saying that the purpose of consideration is to establish fundamental long-term guiding rules, maximize component reuse, and then the life cycle, very long-term, very long-lived, usually 5+ years, updated when strategy changes. And then the standards, there are these technology reference models as well as patterns. These define the approved specific technical products and rules. They are shorter lived. They require continuous maintenance and sometimes sunsetting them. The key benefit for each of these, the key benefit of considerations is that they ensure decisions align with core business value. And then the standards, the benefit is that the risk, and it reduces the risk and achieves cost reduction through consistency. That's pretty much what we were able to cover. Yes, so Like I mentioned earlier on, this is the end of part B of unit 6 to 10. So if you really want me to go and do the other part, do me a favor. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more of such videos. It's a good way to revise and remind each other on some of these interesting concepts. All right, thanks so much.